Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rising Stories Podcast. I'm Corine Sandifer, your host. Each week, I interview a business owner or author, and we chat about building businesses. And we talk about working as a boss and learning how to work through the struggles and the successes that come with it all. We share our best tools and our best practices with you. And we also discuss topics that we can all relate to, such as work-life balance, living with intention, and dreaming big. So sit back and relax, grab some wine or some coffee or water, and listen to these women share how they are rising. And I want to make sure that you are connected to Rising Stories Podcast. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button on iTunes to get the latest episodes. Also, the best and fastest way to connect with me is on Instagram or Twitter. If you have a question, go to Twitter and find me at Corine Sandifer and let me know what you like and what you don't like about the show. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can also find me on Instagram at Corine Sandifer, and I love to do Insta stories. So make sure you're following me and catch some of those stories. My guest on episode 75, I can't believe we are on episode 75 of Rising Stories, is busy mom of 8 turned business owner PJ Jonas. She shares so many awesome tips about how she juggles mom life and business life. And y'all, she has hired her kids and is teaching them how to save. She's teaching them about IRAs and so much more. I just love how she is parenting and doing business, and it all kind of goes together hand in hand. You're going to love this interview. What's her business? It is goat farming. She makes cheeses, she makes candy, soaps, and she has a skincare line. And in fact, she is giving away one of her products for free. So stay tuned to the end, and I will be telling you at the wrap up how to get some of that free soap. There'll be a link and a code that you need. So I am just loving this interview. I'm telling you, it's filled to the brim with life-changing tips for your business and your home life and what it takes to build a business. So she is awesome. Here is my conversation with PJ. Hi, PJ.
Hi, Corine. It's so good to be here.
Thanks for coming on. And we have been like round and round and round, like time zones got in the way and all kinds of things happened and thwarted our getting together. So I'm so glad to have you on. And you are, I can already tell you're an amazing lady because juggling all these like huge things, and you're still standing, you're still beautiful. And it's like, you've got homeschooling. And so help me out. What all do you do?
Oh, everything that's a very big question. So I am a homeschooling mom of 8. I run a farm. I have, right now we're milking about 80 dairy goats. We had 149 baby goats born this year. So I run the farm. I have a internet business called Goat Milk Stuff, where we ship goat milk soap and other products worldwide. And we have a very busy local business as well on the farm, where people come and do agritourism, and we serve them gelato and things we make with the goat milk. So, not to mention a husband and a huge garden, and then just, all the normal life things. It is kind of crazy.
That is like, I'm exhausted already. Just half of the list.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy some days.
And so you guys live on the farm, so you just wake up and you do the farm duties because it's close. You live there.
Yeah, exactly. The house is a couple 100 yards from the soap building and all where all the goats are and stuff. So it's just a nice walk, especially on pretty days.
Yeah. Well, okay, this is crazy because I'm not a farm girl. I'm a big time city person. I love being near Walmart and near downtown. But I can imagine that you just it can consume your whole day if you are
really
not
does.
a planner.
Yeah, we're very blessed in that when we started our business, we just lived on a 3 acre homestead, and when we outgrew that and went looking for property, we managed to find this property. It's 36 acres, and it's actually in our city limits. So it's a very small city. But you mentioned Walmart. I've got a Walmart like less than a quarter of a mile from my house, and we're right on the highway. We've
Oh,
got all
that's
sorts of
good.
amenities here, so it's a small town, but it works. It's not in the middle of nowhere, and that definitely helps when you have teenagers and children involved in a lot of outside activities.
Yes. And having been a homeschooler myself, I know that I feel like sometimes homeschooling kids have more activities because they can possibly have activities from sunup to sundown, whereas school children only can have extra activities in the evening.
Yeah, and it's very true. And for me, I found it was very easy when the children were younger to kind of keep them all close. There was so much for us to do here, so much to learn here. They just were friends with each other. I mean, they obviously had outside friends as well when we would go out, but we didn't get involved as much as, once they start to grow older and that extra outside interaction becomes so much important to them, and that you really kind of, have to meet that need for them. So that's been interesting. Of course, now I have 3 drivers, so that makes things a whole lot easier as well.
That does. That is nice when they can even take the little ones or stay with the little ones. And yeah, yeah. So tell me the age range of your kids.
Right now, they are ages 10 to 20. So they're all one at a time. They're all about a year and a half apart. It was 8 children in 10 years. And my oldest one, who is 20, just got engaged. So I'm about to enter that phase in life too, where I'm about to be a
Wow.
mother-in-law. And I know they're planning to hopefully have children kind of quickly. So that'll be a nice big new adventure as well.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And then you'll still have, some young ones at home, but they seem to be all self-sufficient kind of, they can at least get their own cereal.
Well, one of the reasons I think we do so much around here is because I spent so much time when the children were younger teaching them how to work hard, how to be capable, how to take care of things. They all know how to cook, they all know how to clean, they all, they're still children, so they don't always
Mm-hmm.
do it, all on their own. Sometimes they do, but sometimes it needs, prompting. But that, just the fact that they can do all that, and I know that they're capable, just really helps a lot.
Did they all have different jobs throughout the years? Like once they mastered one or once they kind of outgrew the
Yeah,
younger
I
kids' jobs, moved on to the hardier ones?
Yeah, exactly. I actually call it my youngest person rule. And I say that the youngest person capable of doing the job is the one who does it. And so everybody, kind of, it's exciting because they get to, grow a little bigger and teach their job to the younger one and pass it down. The younger one's excited to take on a new job, and they don't really realize they're kind of being Tom Sawyered and getting,
Mm-hmm.
taught to do some of the extra work. But yeah, everybody works here. Everybody, when we started the business, everybody gets a salary. So all my children get salaries. They all pay their own taxes. They all have IRAs for retirement. So there's a lot
Wow.
of there's a lot of responsibility that they take with goat milk stuff, but it pays back in a lot of ways for them as well.
So they must be getting a nice hunk of change there to report it to the IRS. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. I said it didn't do me any good to, because I see a lot of families start a business, right? And they're basically using their children as free labor,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I said that, that doesn't do us any good because I don't want my children to ever think that they have to continue to work the business when they grow older. If they want to, which right now they all still want to, which is wonderful. But if they don't, I can transfer their salary to someone else, or, they can hit 18 and be able to live on their own, and I'm not taking advantage of them that way. So it is something that it's very commensurate for the work they put in.
Yeah. So the same thing applies as they get older. You're giving them more responsibilities with the business within the business. They're being promoted, so to speak.
Yep. I have, it's not just age based. I have one younger child who makes more than an older sibling because this child does more work than the older sibling.
Wow.
So it's very much based on merit and what they're contributing and what it would cost me to replace the work that they're doing, as opposed to just, their age.
That's awesome. Well, you seem like a fair employer.
I think so. I hope they would say the same, but that's the goal.
So you do gelato, which is my favorite. That's why I picked that at the beginning. So how does that get distributed? Is that just a local thing?
Yeah, right now we're just serving the gelato here on the farm. It's getting more and more popular locally, so I'm having some people inquire about it. But, that's a whole nother level. I mean, you have to deal with dry ice. You have to deal with, frozen. Because it's a dairy product, there's a ton of regulations. We're right now actually the only grade A goat dairy in the state of Indiana, in our whole state. And so we're kind of blazing the trail. I always talk to the state and they're like, oh, well, we've never had anybody do that before, so they have to kind of figure it out. But there's a whole nother level there that we're just not ready to break into. Maybe, we'll save that for when one of the children's older and wants to take that over.
Mm-hmm. So all of the fresh things are sold locally, and then you've got your soap business that is via the internet or just anywhere.
I primarily started, what ended up happening was I had all the children in the bathtub one day years ago, and I was just letting them splash around, and I picked up the baby wash I'd always used and looked at the ingredients and was just so upset to find out it was all these chemical ingredients that I really didn't want to use on their skin. And I was like, that's it. I'm not using this anymore. I'm going to learn how to make my own soap. And so I found some recipes, but they all called for water. And I was like, forget water. I got goat milk. Goat milk's going to be great. And so I put the goat milk in instead of the water. And when I made the soap and put it in the shower, my husband started using it. And within, I don't know, less than a week, maybe 3-4 days, his fingers stopped cracking and splitting. And that,
really?
that was a problem he'd had for years. And we tried everything to fix it and nothing ever worked. And by just using our goat milk soap, it fixed it. So I was like, wow, this is, good stuff. And what ended up happening was, we took it to a couple craft fairs and we gave out samples. We sold some. And I started getting this feedback from all of these moms whose children had eczema. And they were telling me that our goat milk soap was relieving the eczema symptoms and they were no longer having problems with the eczema. And that, I had no idea that eczema was such a big problem out there and so many people had so much difficulty with it. And these moms started telling everybody they knew that our goat milk soap was helping their skin so much. And so that was kind of how goat milk stuff really kind of took off, was pretty much based on those two things. The fact that it really stopped people's skin from cracking and relieved the eczema symptoms. And it grew faster than I ever anticipated.
Wow. And how did you keep up with the demand of, that internet business? Just how did you keep up when it exploded? How did you keep up? I guess that's when you turn to the kids. Hey, help.
Well, yeah, actually, it was kind of crazy. So the kids and I, it was part of the homeschooling at the beginning. So they were involved with it from day one. Mm-hmm. But I had no idea, because I'd never run my own business before, how expensive it was to grow. Right? You think, oh, you're growing. Yeah. That's when, a lot of really rapid growth is what ends up putting a lot of businesses out of business because they cannot handle the cash flow during it.
Exactly.
And so, it was a very exciting time, but it was also kind of scary. And what we ended up doing was, we got all the children together, and they were still pretty young at the time, but, explain to them, okay, we have a decision to make here. Either we, continue the growth, or scale back. And if we decide to continue, then we're going to need to have daddy come onto this business full time. And the issue with that was we weren't making enough money to support ourselves with just goat milk stuff. And so it was really scary. We did decide that we were just going to take a leap of faith. We were going to work, nonstop. We weren't going to buy anything. We weren't going to, do pretty much anything else. And we went for it. And obviously it turned out to be the right decision. But that was probably the scariest part of the whole time, was bringing him on full time to be able to meet that demand.
Wow. Yeah, that is so true that the growth can be expensive because you have to spend money to make money a lot of times. And, getting the shipping costs and things that people don't realize that all factor into all of a sudden you've got to, manufacture all this stuff and send it out.
Yeah, and just the cost of carrying inventory, keeping what you need in stock is very expensive. And then I tell people all the time, because the mistake I see a lot of new business owners doing is they take their cost structure when it's just them, and they say, okay, well, we're just going to double it and triple it, right? Mm-hmm. And that doesn't work. Your profits go up linearly, but your costs go up exponentially.
Yes.
And so you really have to figure that out, because the minute you hire your first employee, everything changes, right? Everything changes. You have to be so intentional about when you bring on employees, especially if if you're going to do it legally, right? Like a lot of people cheat and do things under the table and they don't do it the way you're supposed to, but you don't want to build a viable business based on being under the table and not counting property or payroll taxes and workers' compensation. You need to build your business model. You need to figure out if people are willing to pay what you need to charge, to make your business successful. Because if you take our example, right? So we make goat milk soap. Well, we do everything legally. We pay all of our, taxes, all our sales tax, our payroll taxes, workers' compensation, all of that stuff. Well, there's a lot of people who just, make a couple bars in their, in their kitchen, and, they're not treating it as a business. So you have to be able to compete at your cost structure with people who are not following the rules. And that takes, some work to be able to figure out how to do that.
That is so true. That, you've got to hang in there. I mean, you've got to be business savvy, and you've got to, I'm sure you brought in outsourcing as far as like getting your business where it needs to be as far as, the accounting and, either hiring an accountant or learning a system, a program.
Yeah, I do. I do all of the bookkeeping myself, but I do have an accountant that prepares our taxes and that I can ask questions. I tell people getting a lawyer is really important. I know it's so expensive, and it can seem like, oh, well, I can form an LLC myself. Well, yes, you can, but the trickiest part when you're starting a business is, and I tell us all the time, you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And it's those things you don't even know are, that come back and bite you in the butt and that get you in trouble down the line. And so it's really important to have the people in your corner who can tell you the things that you don't even know are out there and exist at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Good advice. Good advice. So what would you tell someone that's maybe doing some, if it's not soap, it's something else small, maybe selling something on Etsy and wanting to launch it to, go up a notch and take it to the next level, besides getting legal advice and accounting advice? What else how would you encourage them or discourage them?
So no, well, I do discourage some people on some things because, it's just not viable. But one of the things I see happen all the time is people they really don't understand their cost structure and what they really need to be charging. And so many people are afraid of raising their prices because they think nobody will buy it at that price. But the issue you have to realize is if you can't sell it at that price, you can't ever grow. And all you're going to be doing is slaving away, for really what comes out to lower than minimum wage. And that's not the way to take your business to the next level. Right? If your product can't support a price that allows you to hire employees, to build the infrastructure, to do all of that, then just keep it a hobby. Right? Just keep it a hobby. Just keep it, not everything that you're making money at as a hobby is meant to be a business. Mm-hmm. And that's where getting that, that outside counsel, that outside look really, really helps, because if you're not willing to raise your prices, then a lot of times you're not going to make it in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And it also seeps into the rest of your family, and it can affect, who you're married to. Like, your husband was on board, he wanted to join in, and it's got to be, a family affair if you've got a family. And it's also, what are you willing to give up? Like you were saying, you guys decided we want to do this. So you gave up, purchasing things, for a time so that you could grow your business. It's sacrifice.
It's exactly the word that I was thinking. You are sacrificing things today to build something for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes all encompassing. You can, you'll hit a point where you can achieve balance again, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in that growth phase, there's really very, very little room for balance when you're trying to launch something and start something and get it up there. And the other thing you have to realize is there's no status quo. Okay. You think, oh, well, I'm just going to grow it to this point and then, we'll just maintain. It doesn't work that way. Your business is either growing or your business is shrinking. There's no, maintenance. And so you have to understand, if you're wanting to take that next step, that, you need to plan for everything that's going to entail. And there's a place for it. It was the best decision we made. There are things I look back and I go, oh my gosh, we were so crazy. What were we even thinking?
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that ignorance is bliss. Not always. I think it's always good to go into it with your eyes wide open, but there's a lot of soul searching to find out whether you need to keep this as a hobby that you're making some money on the side or turn this into a full-fledged business. And that's not an easy decision.
Right. How would you advise to make that decision? What are some factors? Is it just, cost versus, profits? How would you make that decision?
So one good rule of thumb that you can go by is, for every dollar you want to make gross, so no taxes taken out, no anything, you have to be able to sell $5 worth of product. Okay. And that's a general rule of thumb. Some are going to be more, some are going to be less. But so let's say you want to actually make a $30,000 salary pre-tax. Okay. That means you have to be able to sell $150,000 worth of product.
Mm-hmm.
That's can you do that? It is. It's a lot, and start to think, okay, what do I need? What would that actually look like? Me not just making that, but selling it, shipping it if you're shipping, all the overhead, all the storage, all the inventory, all of that. And that's just to make $30,000,
mm-hmm.
Which is not a lot.
Not a lot. Not a lot of people can, unless you're single, and not a lot of people can live on that. Obviously, a family of 10 cannot. Yeah.
Actually, we did.
Oh, you did for a while.
That's quite a long time.
That was the time when y'all were not doing anything else.
Yeah. But if you start there and say, okay, all right, what would that look like time-wise for me to be able to sell that amount of product? What would it look like, my cost structure? Again, I always tell people, and so let's say you get to that, you're like, okay, yeah, I could do that. Okay. I have not yet met anybody that I have worked with or counseled or consulted with that is charging high enough initially. Mm-hmm. Everybody I've ever worked with, and I'm not saying that people aren't, but the odds are most people are undercharging for their product because they're afraid to charge more. So the next thing I tell people is, okay, raise your prices and let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you have to decide how much you're going to raise them. But what does that do to your demand? Do people just absorb that and it doesn't do anything? Because that can, that's usually what happens. Or does that completely destroy, what your orders that are coming in?
Right.
So that's the next thing I tell people before they, commit to going further. And then after that, so much of it really depends on what it is you're doing. If you're selling on Etsy, making candles, right? It doesn't take a whole lot to scale up slowly.
Right.
But if you're, I don't know, making is something where it requires bigger equipment, more space, another building, that's where you have to be careful before, really doing your homework before you make that sort of jump. Because if you're just sitting there making candles, you can always just, have extra inventory because it's not perishable. And then, if it doesn't take off, you just go back to being a hobby. But it's when you have to really invest, go to that next level, that you really need to do your work figuring out if you can be successful at that level.
Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot, and that's good advice for someone who is hoping to take their hobby to the next level. And there are a lot of factors that you have to really, consider. And again, what is the sacrifice you're going to make, and is this really what you want? Because
and that's it. Yeah, is this really what you want? Because it's very, you can look and see other people's success, and you don't see all the failures and all the hard work and all the sleepless nights, right? Mm-hmm. You have to be willing, and for for moms who come off, raising infants and putting in those sleepless nights and whatnot, you come out that other end and you're like, oh, I'm glad I did it, but I don't want to do it again, right?
Yes, right.
Okay, I'm ready, bring on another one. You can kind of get your sense of where your tolerance is for how much free time you need versus how much you're willing to work. And so it's really, entrepreneurship is very, very fulfilling if that's how you're wired. Mm-hmm. But not everybody is wired that way. And so be careful to look at the good things other people are telling you, because most people don't tell you all the, the nitty gritty.
Right.
They just put that shiny surface on it. And don't judge it based on that. You really have to really do some soul searching.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just know exactly what you want out of the business. What are you trying to, is it, money? Are you trying to get to the, and is that the way to get it? Or are you trying to get independence? And what is that going to look like? Because you may not have that independence that you thought you would by having your own business. Having your own business comes with its own set of limitations, even though you can work from anywhere, whatever. So lot to consider. Very good stuff, PJ. Very good stuff. So tell me what is the best business advice? I mean, you probably already shared it with me, but what's the best business advice that someone's ever shared with you?
At the beginning, someone said that very few businesses go out of business for growing slowly and steadily, and many go out because they grow too quickly. And we were very, very blessed. So I started the business. I started Goat Milk Stuff in 2008, and in 2010 we were on the Today Show. And as you may imagine, we had a lot of orders. Even though we prepped the website with the hosting company, it still shut down the website. And that was kind of my introduction to that, to that kind of fast growth. And I am a firm believer in slow and steady growth is what makes and keeps a great business great. And so don't go out there being, if I only just, if I could only just get on, this program, or if I could only just, this thing happen and everything would blow up, that will fix your problems, because it will create a whole lot of new problems.
Exactly.
And so just really be happy with slow and steady growth, because that's the way to maintain everything you're doing at the quality that you need to maintain it to stay in business.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Yeah. So give me a snapshot of what you do in a given day. And I know probably it's all different. Each and every day is different, but what goes on in a day in the life of PJ?
Yeah, so a lot of it depends on the phase we're in. So when we were starting, the internet, a lot of my time was just spent online doing all of that work that was involved with keeping everything growing in the website and whatnot. Then in 2015, we made a switch and decided to become a grade A goat dairy. And the reason we did that was because the children were getting old enough and they were saying that they all still wanted to work in the business. And so we wanted the business to be broad enough that they could each come in and work it as an adult and not kind of be stepping on each other's toes. And so for the past 2.5 years, my time has been focused on launching that side of the business. I kind of thought it was like going to be an addition to the business, but it was really like starting a whole new business all over again. So within the past, I don't know, a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, I've felt that the local, the agritourism, all the food products, the cheese, the fudge, the caramels, all of that is really established and able for me to back out of that. So now, my focus is I'm actually working towards writing a book.
Oh, I was going to say you should write a book.
Yep. It's been something people have been asking me for years and years. I'm not there yet, but I am working towards getting things set up so that I can actually, really kind of back away and get the book written.
Mm-hmm.
I have started blogging again. I have started podcasting. Well, I'm about to get ready to start podcasting again myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had a podcast for a couple of years that I put on hold while I launched that because I just couldn't do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of it is really focusing on getting the children to the point where they are doing more of the running of the business. And I am doing more of the speaking, leading, kind of setting the direction. So we're really very much in a transition period right now. So a typical day is kind of hard to that because it really depends on how much I have to be teaching them, or if something else has come up that they don't know how to do.
On average, how many hours would you say you now put into your business during the day, or in a given 24 hours?
Still way too much.
Still,
yeah, still way too much. So I, and it goes in waves, and it's busy, but probably on the course of an average week, I'll probably still put in 8 to 12 hours. Mm-hmm. Now you have to remember, for me, a lot of that time really crosses over into the homeschooling, the parenting,
mm-hmm.
The gardening time, because I don't segregate things here. I integrate everything. So, we're in the middle of gardening season. I mean, we've put up, literally, I'm not exaggerating, probably 1 or 2 tons of tomatoes.
Wow.
So I, a lot of that time is there, and we sell it in the farm store. We use it for ourselves, but I'm with my children. We're canning, we're picking,
yeah.
we're doing that. So while the days are really long and really busy, it's not always just doing the work that benefits the business. A lot of it is I would consider family time as well.
And do y'all take any vacations? I mean, are you able to get away?
We do. That was something that I set up in the business, that because I wanted it to be sustainable, and I knew we had to be able to do that. So we actually we do 2 main trips every year. We do a beach vacation, and we do what's always been a Disney vacation. So our busiest time of the year is February, because in February is what our kidding season. So we had 149 baby goats born last year. Wow. And as you can imagine, we don't get a whole lot of sleep during the month of February.
No, because you're
into March. Yep. Yep, exactly. Into March and then into April, because all the babies are still needing to be fed. Mm-hmm. So in January, right before kidding season starts, we go to Disney for 2 weeks. My parents actually work at Disney World, and so we get massive discounts and free passes and all of that. Yeah, we're very, very spoiled.
What's your favorite ride at Disney? Do you have a favorite ride? Like you yourself?
I don't have a favorite. I love the shows. I love going to see the Finding Nemo shows and, all of those sorts of things. But, I like the roller coaster. So probably Rock and Roller Coaster,
we rode that
just do one thing.
6 times.
Yeah. And you got to go the single rider line, because forget sitting next to each other. Just go single rider. And you can actually go over and over.
To get it fast,
Yeah. And then we do, because we're primarily internet, we have our, the holiday retail season is incredibly busy for us. So in late August or early September, when all the children go back to school, we go down to the beach, because all the rental prices on the houses drop massively, usually by half or more. Nice. And so we go down and we spend 2 weeks at usually we go to Topsail Island in North Carolina and spend 2 weeks down there. So we are spoiled that way, and we do have employees now. So with between the employees and friends, we get friends to come and help take care of the goats and, do all of that. So everybody kind of has an assignment. And so it's important. It's important to be able to get away.
Yeah.
It's important to have it so you don't, because otherwise you can start to hate your business.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, because you're working so much. And even if people don't realize, even when you're seeing the money coming in, you're still working the same amount, and it seems like, and it's like you've got to reward yourself. I mean, everyone needs something to look forward to, right?
I think it's especially for us, because we have the children work in the business, there's a point, right? It's not just about building a big bank account or, whatever. There's a point to work. And for me, that's family, right? It's supporting family. It's building family memories. We don't buy stuff. People are always amazed when they come into my house, right? I have couches in my living room, but I don't have any tables. And they're like, there's no end tables in here. I'm like, yeah, I don't need them. I don't want to spend the money on them. And we're always constantly moving our couches because we're playing games, or we're, having parties, or we're, whatever we're doing. And so tables would just get in the way, but we don't really spend money on things. We spend monies on experiences and things that build memories with for the family.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So tell me, what is your favorite app? Do you have a favorite app that you use?
I don't really, I'm picking up my phone and looking at it. I have very, very few apps. They do have it as an app, which is Evernote. But I use,
You use the desktop.
Being
Evernote.
a homeschooling mom, well, I do, but being a homeschooling mom, having a business, there's papers everywhere. And probably the best investment I ever made was, Evernote has a scanner. And you scan everything and it goes directly into Evernote. You can get it on any, computer, your phone, wherever. And I spoke with my accountant and my lawyer, and they said I can scan everything for the business in there with the exception of tax returns and legal documents. And so I could be with the accountant and he'll need something, and I could just pull up Evernote and I can get, what I need for him because it's all kept on there. So that saves me huge amounts of time. And yeah, you have to scan it and you have to tag the things so you can find them. Although there is a search function, I still tag it because I find it's easier to get things that way. But it's just, I can have the children do it. The children know how to scan and tag. And, it just saves me so much time.
I didn't know that Evernote had a scanner. I guess I didn't think, is that just an added, if you buy an added, or the extra?
Yes, the physical scanner kind of looks, like a little printer. I want to say I got mine years ago, so I don't know if they've changed prices. I want to say it was like $400, and I was, because I went back and forth like, oh, this is so expensive. Should I do this? Should I not do it? And it was so worth the $400. We just this is kind of funny, but we take all, I scan them and then they go right through the shredder. And then we use all our shreds in our chicken coop. So all the shreds go in for the chicken bedding and the nest boxes and stuff. So it just gets all recycled that way. And I don't have to worry about anybody stealing my shredded important documents or anything.
Yeah, right. Well, there's an app. My favorite app with my business is Genius Scan, which is just it's a free app. And so if there's a piece of a form or something that needs to be signed or something that is already on paper, I can just take a picture of it and it scans it and it turns it into a PDF. And then you can mail it, or someone sends you something, then you've got to sign it and send it off. So kind of the same thing, but yeah.
Except with the Evernote scanner, you can put, 20, 30 pieces in there all at a time and just let it go.
And does it categorize, or then you have to go and put it where it belongs? You have to go back.
So it's got a feature where you can create folders. And so you can tell it, when you scan a pile, you can tell it which folder to put it into.
Oh, gotcha.
So we do, on the tour, we have our liability waivers. So I'll just take the whole huge stack of liability waivers and set it to go into the liability waiver folder and do that, and then I'll take all my utility bills and I'll just say, okay, these are all utility bills, send them into the utility folder.
Gotcha. Oh, that's great. I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah.
So
Like I said, it is an upfront cost, but I have found it to have repaid itself.
it sounds like it's a big lifesaver. Yeah. Just kind of, or clutter saver.
Exactly.
So, are you a reader? Do you have time? I know you don't have time to watch TV, but do you read at all, like at night?
I am an avid reader. Yeah.
Oh, good. Tell me what you're reading these days.
I am right now in a book called Fortune's Children, and it's the story of the children of Cornelius Vanderbilt, who at the time was the richest man in America, and how he passed his fortune down and what his children did with it and how quickly that fortune was completely gone. And it's fascinating. It is fascinating to because it's, for me personally, I mean, I'm never going to be as rich as Cornelius Vanderbilt, but I am building something, and how I pass that down to my children and how I get them to not, ruin it, because that's typically what happens, right? One generation makes the money, the next one manages it, and the third one, it's completely gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, just completely gone. And so there's a lot of lessons I'm learning in there. And obviously, I mean, this was, the Gilded Age. I mean, the way they spent money was just absolutely obscene. But there's things that I'm learning. I'm like, okay, this is, I can apply this way. I can use this as an example. And it is fascinating just to learn about that bygone era and just, all the crazy stuff they did.
That sounds like a great book. I need to read that. I'm going to put it on my list. So, what are you loving these days? Do you have some favorites that you want to share with everybody?
So much of what I enjoy is wrapped up here on the farm. So if you want to talk about just things I enjoy doing with my time, I love gardening. I think gardening is so valuable. I think it gets us out in nature. It relieves stress. We make healthy food for my children. My children just go out. They eat food straight out of the garden. They eat vegetables. They enjoy vegetables. They understand where food comes from. So I just love gardening. That would be one. I am admittedly, so I'll say something healthy and then something not so healthy, but I am totally addicted to the toffee we make.
I love toffee.
Oh, it's so good. We make the goat milk toffee and then cover it in chocolate, and then we roast nuts and cover it in nuts, and it's so good.
Do y'all mail those? Does that
we
go
do
out?
ship
Good.
those? Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, we have trouble. Yeah, we have trouble keeping that in stock. So we're making it nonstop, and I always just get all the the little pieces that are too small to send to somebody
This
else.
one doesn't look right. I think I'll take it for myself.
Yeah. So totally addicted to that. And then probably, other than spending time with the family, probably sleep is the next thing that comes to mind. I'm a big believer in that to maintain efficiency and to be able to go for the long haul, right? It's not worth sacrificing yourself for the short term. You have to be in it for the long term. And I think sleep is just so fundamental to that. So I really do I really do enjoy getting a full night's sleep.
Yeah, the body does have to rest, that's for sure. And because you're doing so much, you need the sleep. You need it. Yeah.
Well, and there's studies coming out showing that it's while you sleep that your brain is detoxifying. And I think that's so fascinating that's, what it takes to just get all of those toxins that just build up from just everyday life out. And so it's like, okay, there's one more reason to get a good night's sleep.
It sounds like you read a lot of stuff. I mean, you are very knowledgeable. And of course I'm glad you're writing a book. So you'll have to come back and share your book with us, and we'll have to do another show about that.
I have an offer for your listeners if that's something that they're interested in. If they'd like to try a bar of the goat milk soap, I'm going to make one of those available for free. We have unscented soap, which helps a lot of people with skin issues. It's called Purity. And then we have a lot of different scents if people don't have any skin problems and just want something that smells good as well.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. So I will have the link on the show notes at CorineSandifer.com, and all you have to do is go there under podcast and click on the link, and it will direct you to the code to get your free soap. Thanks so much for coming on.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Wow, her days are so full and she is doing it all very well. If you would like to receive the free soap offer, head over to CorineSandifer.com for the link and code to get your soap. You can also find the link on the iTunes description down below. One of my favorite wisdom nuggets that she shared with us was that your business is either growing or it's shrinking. What is your business doing? Is it shrinking or growing? If you would like to explore that further with a business coach, I am offering a free 30-minute consultation and strategy session. So just shoot me an email at info@CorineSandifer.com and we'll connect. So all of that, what PJ said, was such good food for thought, and I enjoyed chatting with her. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. As always, if you missed something that you wanted to jot down from this episode, no worries, because I have added a whole lot to the iTunes description on the app, and it's also on my show notes at CorineSandifer.com. Please consider supporting Rising Stories podcast by purchasing books and products mentioned on the show with the link provided in the show notes. Thanks for listening and keep rising in your story.